welcome. I'm Dr. Jacki, founder of Dove Pediatrics, mom of 3, and your prayerful pediatrician. And I don't know if you noticed, but around here, spring is in full bloom. And that is beautiful because with spring comes new life. And we have been absolutely hopping in the clinic with brand new babies. So I thought this would be a great time of year to come on and talk to you about some of the completely normal stuff that babies do all the time that also freak parents out. I am certain that all of us either know someone with a baby, know someone who's expecting a baby, know a grandparent of a baby, or know someone who has a baby or is about to have a baby. So please share this far and wide because I want as many new parents to hear this as possible, because my goal for you, new parent, is that you would be able to parent with peace. There are a lot of things that babies do that really make us worried, and people who have never had anxiety ever before, all of a sudden when a baby is born, they find themselves anxious and worried because they don't want to mess it up. And that is a great place to be. And I'm here to give you some peace about some of the normal things and some things that you should know are abnormal and when to seek care from your pediatrician. So here we go. First and foremost, your baby only has 4 main jobs, right? Eating, sleeping, peeing, and pooping. So let's start there. Eating. Let's talk about breastfeeding. Most importantly, I need you to know this is hard. There are very few moms and babies who get the hang of it right away. And it's this beautiful, magical thing where baby latches on, mom is able to make milk, and they live happily ever after on their breastfeeding journey. The majority of other moms and babies actually struggle. I like to consider breastfeeding a team sport. Some teams are full of all-stars right from the beginning, and you know right off the bat, this is going to be a good team. They are going to make it to the playoffs and maybe even the championship, and they might have to work a little bit along the way, but overall, things just come easy to them. Okay? The rest of moms and babies, we fall in the rest of the league. Yes, we need to practice every day, maybe even twice a day, multiple times a day, and there's a chance of getting to the playoffs or the championship, which to me is a successful breastfeeding journey, but it's going to take practice, and it's going to take patience, and it's going to take determination. There might be times when your pediatrician recommends adjusting things or supplementing. When they recommend supplementing, I want you to know it doesn't have to be with formula. If you are able to pump some milk and baby is just not getting the hang of nursing from the breast, if you have breast milk that you can use that instead of formula. I have a lot of moms that don't really want to give formula if they don't have to, and just because we say the word supplement doesn't mean that it has to be formula. It's also important for you to know that even if you do have to supplement, it can be temporary. It might just be until your milk supply gets regulated, or it might need to be until your baby learns how to move their mouth appropriately to be able to transfer milk. It doesn't have to be forever, and there are a lot of emotions that end up getting attached to breastfeeding that we really don't expect beforehand. Just know it is a difficult journey, and there might be times that are really hard, and you might need to change things temporarily. But with determination and with good support and talking to the right people, you have the potential to have a positive breastfeeding journey. The most important thing is don't give up right away. One of the hardest days is right when you come home from the hospital. That first night can be so rough because your baby is naturally sleepy right after birth. They went through a lot, you went through a lot, so they make you think that they are going to be this perfect angel, and they sleep and they wake up and they're hungry when they're hungry, and then they get home and they decide, I'm really hungry now. And so when they start cluster feeding, that is a natural way for that baby to tell your body that it's time to make milk. Do not be afraid to reach out to your pediatrician, lactation consultant, some other breastfeeding mom support groups. There are people out there to help. Please don't give up or do this alone if you are struggling. Next is sleeping. Your baby can be expected to sleep up to 18 to 20 hours in a 24-hour period. So yes, they do spend most of their day sleeping, and it might be in small little chunks. In the first couple of weeks, you should be waking your baby to feed every approximately 3 hours. Now, it is normal for your baby to lose weight in the first couple of days. They usually bottom out around 5 to 7 days, and then as mama's milk comes in, they come back up so that they hit their birth weight by the 2-week mark. So my general rule of thumb is that once they hit their birth weight and they show us that they can gain weight appropriately, you can let them sleep longer increments at nighttime. However, be on the lookout that they might make up for those during the day. So if you find that they are eating really frequently during the day and that doesn't work for your schedule, yes, you can still wake them up at night, but physiologically, you don't have to, as long as they are making up for those feeds during waking hours. They should be feeding 8 to 10 and sometimes even more times in a 24-hour period. Next, peeing and pooping. A good rule of thumb here is that you can expect 1 wet and 1 poopy diaper for each day old that your newborn is. So in the first 24 hours, 1 pee and 1 poop gets an A+, and so on and so forth, up to about a week. Because, we aren't just peeing and pooping for every day old that we are after about 7 days. That would be a lot of time in the bathroom. But most babies settle into a routine of 1 pee in between every feed, and then anywhere from 1 poop per day up to a poop in between each feed. Some babies will have more, some less, but they should be having a soft bowel movement at least once daily or every other day. Now, sometimes when they might be fighting an illness or there just has been a slowdown in the GI transit, they can go up to a week without having a bowel movement. If they are comfortable, that's okay. Help them out, do little circles with their legs, put their knees up to their chest, and they will pass it with time. If they are going that long in between every stool, that's more of a concern. Definitely time to talk to your pediatrician. And if your baby is uncomfortable after a couple of days without a bowel movement, also talk to your pediatrician. And what about the color? Once they pass their meconium, that first weird, sticky, dark poop, it should transition to anywhere within the yellow, orange, brown, greenish, lime green, light brown, dark brown color family. It's important to know that the colors that are concerning would be, number 1, if there's any fresh, bright red blood. Number 2, if there's any dark black, sticky, tarry stools, that suggests there might be some blood in the GI system that has been digested. Or if there's no color at all. That is a very uncommon thing that can happen, but it is urgent that you talk to your pediatrician if you see a white or gray poop consistently. And while we're on the GI system, let's jump right to spitting up. So in the first couple of days after birth, it is normal to have some spit up, especially of amniotic fluid or the clear fluid that they were swimming in when they were inside the womb. That is irritating to the stomach, and the stomach does not want it in there. Also, it can make their bellies really full when they do try to drink any bit of colostrum that you have, or formula if they're being formula fed. The belly easily gets overfilled and then the rest comes up. So if you see amniotic fluid, if you see them spitting up, sit them up. You can rest them on your shoulder, kind of pat them, help them get it back down or get it out, and just help them to breathe. If they're spitting up milk or formula later on, what we look for is their comfort. So if they seem comfortable, they're just living their life, and then some milk comes out and they go on living their life, they are what we call a happy spitter. However, if they seem really uncomfortable, if they are arching back, it looks like it's hurting. Sometimes they might have silent reflux without any spit up coming out, but they just look like they're uncomfortable and something is hurting in that heartburn area. That is something you need to talk to your pediatrician about. You can start off with keeping them elevated, at least at an angle, for 30 up to 60 minutes after every feed, burping them really good. But beyond that, if they are still really uncomfortable, talk to your doctor. Now, if they're spitting up all the time, they also might be swallowing some air. Look at how they're feeding, whether it be on the breast or the bottle. Are they uncoordinated? Are they clicking a lot? Are they losing that suction a lot? That tells me that they are swallowing air, which then has to come back out, and it brings some milk with it. So if you're looking at their oral development, if they look like they're struggling, or if it's really painful when you're breastfeeding, definitely talk to a lactation consultant or even possibly a speech therapist or occupational therapist to evaluate their oral function to help them get better at actually feeding and not swallow so much air, in turn leading to more spitting up. Let's talk color again. White milk, chunky milk, a little bit of yellow, all okay. Things that you need to seek care for is if you have blood in baby spit up, with the caveat, check yourself first if you are breastfeeding. If you have any cracks or bleeding on your nipple, that is the most common reason that we see blood in babies' spit up. If they have any dark black looking spit up that look almost like coffee grounds, that's concerning that there's a bleed lower, or bright green, or projectile. Now, when I say projectile, I mean several feet and every single time they try to feed. So all of those are concerns for either bleeding or an obstruction or a pyloric stenosis, and your doctor or the ER need to know about it right away. While we're on GI, since we're still on the GI system, let's talk about hiccups. Totally normal. Very common. It takes a lot of coordination for babies to suck, to swallow, to try to breathe at just the right time and not the wrong time, and to not aspirate or not choke on what they're drinking. That requires a very mature nervous system, which most babies are still learning that coordination when they first come out. Think about it. They've never had to eat through their mouth before. They're sitting there like, why aren't I getting all of my nutrition through my belly button anymore? I have to actually do work for this thing. So when they try to breathe, when they were actually trying to swallow, that oftentimes induces hiccups, and they do it quite frequently. And that is normal. Another normal thing, gas. And yes, this is one of the most common questions that we get as pediatricians. First of all, it is normal for them to have some gas, and it is normal for them to look like they're struggling. I get a lot of questions that say, oh, it just looks like they're just restless and wiggling and they can't get a gas bubble out. And I mean this with all sincerity. Imagine when you have gas pains and you're laying in bed and you are just trying to find a comfortable position and you just can't, and you're moving all over the place. Babies have the same sensation, but they don't have the ability to just roll over. So yeah, they do look uncomfortable sometimes. The best thing that you can do is change their position frequently to mimic what you would be doing in the bed if you had some gas building up too. And while I'm on that note, poops can be the same situation. And I usually tell parents, and again, I mean this not sarcastically, but imagine trying to poop while you're laying down. Just because they're a baby doesn't make it easier, so they might be struggling to pass a bowel movement too because they're laying down. So sit them upright, of course, support their head, support their little chin if it's a newborn, put their knees up to their chest, and kind of put them in that little squatty potty position to just help them out. Gravity helping them out, knees to the chest helping them out to help them pass that bowel movement. It's not abnormal for them to need that little bit of help. Next, sneezing. Totally normal. Hiccups and sneezing, those are the two questions that I always am asked, is this normal? They are going from being in a wet environment where their nasal passages and sinuses might have amniotic fluid touching them all the time, now to dry air. Whether it's hot or cold, depending on the season, it's dry. So their sinuses, their nasal passages are all trying to adjust, which sometimes those nasal passages are producing mucus to try to lubricate those mucous membranes, and you end up seeing sneezing, or you might end up hearing congestion. That's another common question. Baby always sounds congested. Well, that can be normal too because of all of the reasons I just gave. And they have these very tiny little nasal passages, so one booger sounds like a freight train when they're breathing. Most important thing to determine if it actually is problematic is how they are breathing in their chest. If all you hear is the loud noise through their nose, that's okay. If you see what we call retractions, which is their belly sucking under their ribs or in between their ribs pulling in, or on top of their breastbone sucking in, and it looks like they can't get a full deep breath in, that is more concerning and needs urgent medical evaluation. But just the noise through their nose does not. You can always try some saline drops or saline mist. There is a brand called Boogie that makes Boogie wipes. They also have a saline mist inhaler with a little mask that goes over their mouth and nose that will help to break up that mucus, along with a steamy bathroom. Another thing that has to adjust, going from wet to dry air, is their skin. It's completely normal in the first 1 to 2 weeks for babies to peel. And it does look a little like they're shedding snake skin. The worst areas are usually around the hands and feet, the wrists and ankles, and you might see these flakes that you really are tempted to pull off, but please leave them be. It is normal, it is expected, and no matter what you do, it actually doesn't make it go any faster. If you feel like you have to do something and put some lotion on it, make sure that what you're putting on baby's skin is free of dyes and fragrances. What about other rashes? Mostly normal. Baby skin reacts to just about everything with little red bumps. If it's too hot, little red bumps. Too cold, potentially little red bumps. Too moist, little red bumps. Too dry, little red bumps. Also, anything that offends the skin, any dog dander, any pollens, any grass oils, any fragrance, any perfumes, any smoke, all can cause these little red bumps. Now, it's also normal around 1 month for babies to develop what we usually call baby acne. All of those are within normal. The first thing I recommend for you to do is take just a warm, wet, soft cloth and wipe down the skin. That way, if there is anything on the skin that is irritating it, you get it off so it doesn't continue irritating the skin. And then if you do want to use something light. Again, dye-free, fragrance-free, but most of the time, we just want you to do nothing. It will go away on its own. And if you're ever unsure, just ask your pediatrician. Lastly, I just have a few random things that are common questions that I want to touch on. So first, the umbilical cord usually falls off around 1 to 2 weeks, and it is normal for it to fall off, kind of ooze a little bit. It might even bleed. It forms a scab or a crust. That one might fall off. It might do the same thing again. And many times it takes 3 to 4 times of going through that same routine before it finally heals up and is dry and stays dry. So hold off on trying to do a bath where that belly button is submerged until it is fully dry and healed. In the meantime, if you do want to wash baby, just do sponge baths, and it really doesn't have to be more than 1 or 2 times a week. But if that belly button does get wet, just try to pat it dry. Keep it dry. Do not put any extra products on it. We used to recommend products. We don't anymore because we found that they dry out the skin and actually lead to more infections. So the best thing to do is just pat it dry and leave it alone. And last but not least, fevers. Fevers are an emergency in newborns, up to about 6 weeks or so. Now, if you've learned the number that we consider a fever in a baby, lucky you. What most people don't hear is that a low temperature is equally concerning, if not more concerning. Those numbers that you need to be aware of are any temperature 100.4 or above, and that is in Fahrenheit, or anything 97.4 or below. If you get a temperature outside of that normal range between 97.5 and 100.3, it is time to go to the emergency room. If you have a direct primary care pediatrician like mine, you can call or text them, but don't wait for their response before you head to the ER. Yes, it could just be a cold, but also that baby is so tiny with such an immature immune system that it could be something that easily causes sepsis or meningitis. So it's important to have them evaluated to make sure it's not one of those really serious things. Once they're a little bit older and they do have more of an immune system, it's not an emergency anymore. It's a good idea to call your pediatrician, let them know that they have a fever, and decide on the best route from there. Whew, that concludes all that I had prepared for you today. Of course, there is so much more that I could cover. If you felt this was helpful, please, please, please comment below what was your favorite piece of information, what was new to you, what was interesting to you, and please share it. Share with a friend who would also find all of this information helpful or who has a newborn on the way and will definitely need to come back to this later. Also, if you found it helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can get all the updates with this type of content. And if you want to see any other topic having to do with pediatrics or raising children or being a godly parent or any other topic, please comment and share in our community. I'm always looking for other topics that listeners want to hear about. So I would love for you to tell me what you want to hear about next. In the meantime, thank you for joining me, and grab all of your friends to help me build a community of kingdom parents on a mission to raise a healthy and faithful next generation. See you later.